High five and a warm welcome to everyone tuning in. You've just stepped into the Fluency Lab, the only place where we turn your I can't into I can. I'm Leo, and honestly, I haven't mastered the art of making a perfect omelet. Yet.
See, you're already using it. Hi, everyone. I'm Emma. It's absolutely wonderful to have you back in the lab. Today, we aren't talking about complex grammar or advanced idioms. We're talking about one tiny three-letter word that has the power to change your entire learning psychology.
That's right. We're talking about the word yet. It sounds simple, but in the world of language learning, it's the difference between giving up and reaching fluency. We are going to dig into the neuroscience, the history, and the practical application of this concept.
To understand why this matters, we have to look at the alternative. Most people approach language learning with what we call a binary filter. You either speak French or you don't. You either have a good accent or you have a bad one. It's 0 or 1, success or failure.
And that binary filter is dangerous. It creates this immense pressure where every mistake is proof that you don't belong. If I mess up a conjugation in a meeting, my brain whispers, "You are not a Spanish speaker. You are a fraud." That is the voice of the fixed mindset.
This brings us to the work of Dr. Carol Dweck from Stanford University. She is the giant upon whose shoulders this entire conversation stands. Years ago, she observed something fascinating happening in a high school in Chicago. This wasn't a wealthy private school. It was a public school facing real challenges. They had to decide how to grade students who didn't pass a course.
Right, usually that's a big red F, failure. It's definitive, it stamps you, it says you are not enough.
Exactly. But this school did something radical. If a student didn't meet the requirements for a course, they didn't get a fail. They got a grade of not yet.
I love that. Think about the psychological shift there. If I get a failing grade, I think I'm nothing, I'm nowhere, I have hit the wall. But if I get a not yet, I understand that I'm on a trajectory. It implies a learning curve. It tells me you are in the middle of the story, not the end.
Dweck found that this simple reframing fundamentally changed how students process difficulty. Students with the not yet mindset, what she coined the growth mindset, persisted longer on difficult problems. They didn't see struggle as a sign of stupidity. They saw it as the cost of entry for getting smarter.
But we need to be careful here because I think this concept has been watered down in pop culture. You see it on Instagram motivational posters. Just believe in yourself. But the actual science is much more mechanical than that. It's not just about good vibes, it's about how the brain processes error signals.
This is where we get into the technical breakdown. There was a fascinating study published in Psychological Science by Jason Moser and his colleagues at Michigan State University. They wanted to see if the growth mindset actually looked different in the brain.
This study is wild. They hooked participants up to an EEG cap, that's the one with all the electrodes on your scalp, to measure electrical activity. Then they gave them a boring, repetitive task designed to make them slip up. They wanted to catch the brain in the exact moment of making a mistake.
Here's what they found. When you make a mistake, your brain fires two distinct signals. The first one is called the ERN, or error-related negativity. It happens incredibly fast, about 50 milliseconds after the error. It's an automatic, unconscious response. Moser calls it the "oh crap" signal.
The oh crap signal. Everyone has that, right? Whether you have a fixed mindset or a growth mindset, your brain knows you messed up.
Correct. Everyone has the "oh crap" response. But here's the difference. There's a second signal called the PE, or positivity error signal. This happens later, about 100 to 500 milliseconds after the mistake. This signal represents conscious attention. It's the brain saying, okay, what just happened? Let me look at this. Let me process this data.
And this is where the two groups diverged. In people with a fixed mindset, that second signal, the conscious processing signal, was weak or almost non-existent. They felt the oh crap, and then they looked away. They wanted to escape the feeling of failure, so their brain literally stopped paying attention to the error.
But the people with a growth mindset, their brains were on fire. The P signal was 3 times stronger. They weren't running from the mistake, they were leaning into it. Their neurons were actively engaging with the failure to resolve the conflict. So when we say add the word yet, we are basically trying to manually trigger that P signal. We're forcing our brains to pay attention rather than look away.
That is a game changer for language learners. Think about the intermediate plateau. We have so many listeners who get stuck at B1 or B2. They can communicate, but they make the same fossilized errors over and over again. They drop the third-person S, or they mix up prepositions.
That's a classic fixed mindset trap. Their brain gives them the "oh crap" signal when they hear themselves make the mistake, but because they feel shame or frustration, they don't engage the P signal. They don't stop and analyze. They just keep talking, hoping nobody noticed.
So applying the power of yet here means stopping the conversation, or at least the internal monologue, and saying, I didn't get that preposition right yet. It changes the error from a character flaw into a data point. It's neutral.
I want to pivot slightly to the nuance here, because there is valid criticism of the growth mindset movement. We have to be intellectually honest about this. Some educators and psychologists, like those in a 2020 study by Lee and Bates, have pointed out that replication of Dweck's results can be inconsistent.
Right, and there's a danger of what's called false growth mindset. This is where a teacher or a learner thinks that just trying hard is enough. They praise the effort even if the strategy is failing. If you are trying to learn vocabulary by staring at a list for 5 hours and nothing is sticking, saying, I haven't learned it yet isn't enough if you don't change your method.
That is such a crucial distinction. Yet is not magic. It's not a spell you cast to instantly absorb a language. Yet is a bridge to a new strategy. If you say, I don't understand the subjunctive mood yet, the implied next sentence must be, so I need to try a different way of studying it.
It's about separating the process from the outcome. In the fixed mindset, if the outcome is bad, the process was a waste of time. In the growth mindset, a bad outcome is just feedback on the process. It's like being a scientist at a lab. If an experiment explodes, you don't cry and say, I'm a bad scientist. You say, well, clearly mixing those two chemicals was a bad idea. Let's try something else.
Let's bring this down to the ground level. We promised practical exercises. How do our listeners actually install this software in their heads? You mentioned a mindset audit.
Yes, this is something I have my students do. For one day, I want you to treat your internal monologue like a radio station. Just listen to it. Don't judge it. Just observe. You will be shocked at how many absolute statements you make about your English.
Statements like, I sounded stupid in that meeting, or I'll never understand phrasal verbs.
Exactly. When you catch those, you have to intercept them. You have to be the editor. You rewrite the script in real time. I sounded stupid becomes, I haven't mastered the vocabulary for that topic yet. I'll never understand becomes, I don't understand them yet.
I think this is incredibly powerful for job interviews, too. We have so many listeners applying for jobs in English-speaking companies. There's this terror of being asked a question you don't know the answer to.
Oh, the dread is real. The interviewer asks, do you have experience with Python scripting? And you freeze. The fixed mindset says, say no, apologize, and accept that you lost the job.
But the growth mindset uses the power of yet. You look them in the eye and say, I haven't had the chance to work with Python in a professional setting yet, but I've used similar logic in C++, and I am confident I can bridge that gap quickly.
That answer signals something to the recruiter. It signals adaptability. In the modern economy, your current skill set matters less than your ability to acquire new skills. By using yet, you are identifying yourself as a learner, and companies want learners.
We also need to address the cultural aspect of this. In some cultures, making mistakes is seen as a loss of face. It's deeply embarrassing. How do we reconcile the American concept of fail forward with cultures that value perfection and correctness?
That is a heavy question. I've worked with students from Japan and Korea who struggle with this intensely. The social cost of error feels very high. In that context, yet can be a private shield. You might still apologize socially for the mistake to maintain harmony, but internally, you must protect your confidence with yet. You can perform the cultural ritual of apology without accepting the internal shame.
I love the idea of it being a private shield. It protects your core identity. You know, looking back at the neurology, that PE signal, the brain lighting up to process the error, it reminds me of lifting weights. When you lift a weight that is too heavy, your muscle fibers literally tear. That is what soreness is. But the muscle grows back stronger because of the tear.
That is the perfect analogy. If you only lift weights that are easy, you never tear the muscle, and you never grow. If you only say sentences in English that you are 100% sure are correct, you are lifting 2-pound dumbbells. You are maintaining, but you aren't building.
And the intermediate plateau is basically just you getting bored of lifting the same weights. You need to increase the resistance. You need to risk making more mistakes to trigger that growth again.
Precisely. So if you are feeling stuck, it might mean you aren't failing enough. You have become too safe. You need to go into situations where you will need the word yet.
This has been a powerful session. I feel like we've dissected this word from every angle: historical, neurological, and practical. Let's wrap it up with a clear takeaway.
My takeaway is this: stop the dead ends. A sentence without yet is a dead end. A sentence with yet is a path. Be your own coach, not your own critic. And remember the science. When you feel that frustration, that is literally the feeling of your brain rewiring itself. Embrace the burn.
And your homework this week is simple but challenging. Go to the comments section or just write in your journal. Identify one specific area of English that frustrates you. Maybe it's listening to fast podcasts. Maybe it's reading novels. Maybe it's pronunciation. Write it down, but you must add yet at the end.
For example, I haven't mastered the American R sound yet. We'll be there to cheer you on.
Well, we haven't reached the end of our English journey. Well, actually, we have reached the end of this episode.
Nice one. Thanks for hanging out with us in the Fluency Lab. It's always a pleasure to dive deep into the psychology of language with you.
And thank you to all our listeners. You're doing amazing work, even if you don't feel like a pro yet.
Keep growing, keep glowing, and keep it fluent. Catch you on the flip side.
See ya.
Peace out.